So I think that everyone needs to assess their own experience and situation. But I do feel that we need to start taking some steps back and looking where we are as far as, do we mask up? What are we going to invest in? What are we going to sell? We're very much in a survival mode right now. And so what happens when we're in survival mode is some people retreat. Think of it just like an animal being taunted, okay? Some animals will retreat into a corner. Some animals will lash out. And other animals will kind of negotiate. So they might play dead a little bit. They might sniff around a little bit. So you don't want to be the one that retreats in the corner, but you also don't want to be the one that lashes out. So what do I mean by that? So the retreating in a corner is, I'm never leaving my home. I'm going to live in a bomb shelter and live on canned goods the rest of my life. That's it. There's a pandemic. I'm not leaving my house. I'm not interacting with individuals. And I'm going to dislike anyone that doesn't get vaccinated or wear a mask or anything else. I'm just going to hate. The other end of this is the person who's lashing out. This is the person who is running around unvaccinated without a mask, laughing at people, being kind of a court jester, and really kind of navigating on ignorance and bullying. So those both are, those two are just two ends of the same coin. They're both in vicarious trauma. Neither one of them is thinking very clearly. But that middle ground, that balanced space of, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to protect myself and to help the greater good, but I'm also going to be cautious, but I'm not going to stop living. That is the place that you want to be. That's the sweet spot. And again, you need to do what is right for whatever your situation is, and you might be in a trauma space where lashing out feels good to you or retreating in a corner feels good to you. That is fine. You need to do what you need to do. But let's talk about long-term finance. Let's talk about long-term emotions. So what is vicarious trauma? Vicarious trauma is traditionally something that would have been seen with therapists, doctors, surgeons. This is where you are interacting with people on a day-to-day basis that traditionally are not in their best space. They're in pain. They don't feel good. Whether that pain and not feeling good is physical or emotional, they're just not in their best space. And all day long, what you're doing is trying to help them. Not necessarily cheerlead them or give them pep talks, but trying to help them find solutions to alleviate their pain and to live a life that is what they want to step into. So a more higher quality of life. Now, if you are someone, like most of us have been in the past year and a half, if you're someone who's been on social networking, watching the news, getting updates from relatives, friends, neighbors, you know that there is so much polarization, so much stress. There's a lot of conflicting information out there, and the conflicting information is mostly because there are so many conspiracy theories and so much junk news and news that is just there for shock effect, headline clicks. But there's plenty of actual real news out there. You just have to sift through it. And at this point, the best thing is just to ignore a lot of what you see and just go right to the source that you know can be trustworthy. But the bottom line is, this is all creating vicarious trauma. Even if you don't believe in the vaccine, don't believe in COVID, don't believe in the pandemic, it doesn't even matter what you believe at this point when it comes to vicarious trauma, because vicarious trauma isn't about what you believe in. It's about what you're experiencing. So if you're experiencing less freedom, less of an income, a feeling of powerlessness, of someone telling you what to do and you don't like that. If all of this is coming together for you, then the next step for you is to recognize that regardless of where you sit on any of these spectrums or any of these beliefs or any of these factual spaces or situations, you are in vicarious trauma. The very fact that you might have identified with being in the corner or being in rage or being somewhere in the middle and trying to sniff out what is balance for you, all three of those are a part of vicarious trauma. They are all three responses to stress that is chronic. So let's go deeper into, what do you do financially right now? Now, I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just giving you my opinion on what I would do if I were in different situations. So if I were in a situation where I was already struggling with money before, and now inflation is high and there's a pandemic and maybe work is not great for me right now, XYZ, like a million different things, I might look at what are ways that I can downsize, simplify, and streamline my life. In what ways can I change some of my habits slowly so that I have more control over my income? What are ways that I can create more of a stability or a sense of space and peace for myself? If I'm someone that has extra money, I have a nest egg, things are paid off, I'm debt free, but I'm still very confused by everything that's happening around me, and I'm concerned about losing my assets or my assets depreciating, then I will start to look at what are ways that I can feel more comfortable with what I have, and what am I willing to understand might decrease in value. What are areas in my life that I can start to make peace with, and why do some of these items that I own or have collected or curated, why are these so meaningful to me that they are maybe something I identify with and place value on my sense of self with? So regardless where you are on the spectrum of things, some people are just worried about where can I get $300 to pay my rent, and other people are saying, where can I get $300 to buy another share of Moderna stock? So it goes all over the place. And we have to really start thinking about how we feel about our finances during the pandemic specifically is probably hand in hand with how we feel about the pandemic in general. On the flip side, how we feel about the pandemic is probably how we're responding fiscally. So if you feel like you're in the corner and you are scared to death, you're probably holding on to money a little bit, and which is fine. And you're probably fearful of where the next dime is going to go or how you're going to get the next dime. On the other end of the spectrum, if you're someone who's in rage and you have a level of wanting to tell people off and being oppositional as opposed to being fearful and more feeling like a level of just isolation, you might then instead be someone who's spending money frivolously, or maybe you're holding on to money, but kind of laughing your way, you think, to the bank because you're spending money on things that don't make maybe a lot of sense. There's the people in the middle who might be kind of doing a little bit of both. They're saving money, they're investing where they can, and they're also holding on to money because it is a rainy day, not for a rainy day. And also, they might be spending to keep not only themselves in a place of living, but also to keep the economy going. Now, they might not be thinking that like, oh, I'm going to spend money here to keep the economy going, but that's truly what's happening. So when we have all of those different areas coming together, we are in another level of stress. So financial stress will affect your health. It'll affect your relationships. It'll affect a lot of different areas. Now, in your relationships, how are you feeling? And again, this goes back into, do you get a mask on? Do you take the mask off? Do you get vaccinated? Do you not get vaccinated? There are many couples where one person feels confident that they want to be vaccinated, and they did get vaccinated. And there's another part of that couple, the other half of that couple, is completely anti-vax. So we have couples that have differing mindsets. Well, they probably also have differing financial responses to the pandemic as well. So all of this together, I don't have a complete answer for you. I'm just going to advise, try to get somewhere in the middle. If you have rage, if you have anger, if you feel that people are stupid, try to be a little bit more compassionate and get a little bit more in the center. If you're someone who is in fear and isolation and you're not interacting and you're using this maybe as a scapegoat, again, really try to get more into the center. You need to interact with people. You need to spend money. You need to save money. And you need to be just more generally balanced. But this is what we see all of the time. We see in any kind of crisis situation, people may go in different areas or degrees of response, but the best place to be is always to try to hit that middle ground. So I hope this has helped a little bit. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear from you. Just meet me over at thefinancetherapist.com.